G'day everyone and welcome to Flock, a New Orleans Pelicans podcast hosted by me, Lyle Swithenbank, all the way from Perth, Western Australia. Follow us on X at Lyle Swithenbank, LYLESWITHENBANK as in bank. Also on TikTok and also on the YouTube, which you're following us there if you're watching online or listening on the audio version on your podcast app. We are everywhere, so make sure you hit that subscribe button below and the thumbs up as well. We appreciate all the support. We continue to grow, and as the season swiftly approaches, we will be here filling the airwaves and your screens depending on what platform you are watching or listening on. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, of course, Media Day is here. And before we get into that this afternoon, I thought I'd give you a little taster of a recap of the staggered approach that the Pelicans have taken with their Media Day this year. Joe Dumars, Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations, did a standalone press conference yesterday. And we're going to break that down today. So let's get into it. So, it started at midnight my time, stayed up because I suppose I'm a sucker for punishment when it comes to this Pelicans team. Joe kicked off with an injury update on all the players, which I thought was a really good way to start. Let's set the tone. He said Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, they've been scrimmaging for 2 to 3 weeks. They've been falling, getting up, playing as hard as possible. They're ready to go, ready to rock and roll. Perfect news. I mean, the only better news is that we heard nothing about any injury from Zion. Nothing at all, which, I mean, gosh, that is always the fear after that dreaded foot injury news that was dropped on us, oh gosh, a couple of years ago now by Griff at Media Day. No, none of that. The other updates for injuries, DeJounte Murray and Derek Queen on track and no time frame to return, which we never really thought there would be a dedicated timeline. We're thinking towards, December, January for DeJounte, and then of course with Derek Queen, they said 12 weeks to be reassessed. He's close to that. We did see a picture with him and Carmelo Anthony on Instagram. He had no cast on, so maybe he's getting closer. That to me, a clean bill of health. That is step one. That is step one to the success of this team. And I love that Joe Dumars started with that. Straight away, there wasn't really any questions asked, just that everyone's ready to rock and roll. That to me is good news. Right? That's what we dreaded. And to have that cleared straight away, excellent. Now, I did live tweet last night, so if you saw my sort of train of consciousness, this is going to be the expanded version. That was really to kick off a media day with that injury update. Happy with that. It sort of then shifted to Zion Williamson. Of course, it's been well documented that he has been challenged by Joe Dumars to step in as the face of this franchise, to become that A-grade player that we know he can be talent-wise. And now it's really embracing the moniker of being the Pelicans franchise player. I think externally he was, but I think internally perhaps there was that struggle between conflicting personalities in Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. The health factor played a big part of that as well. You couldn't really step Zion into that position when he wasn't really playing much. So this is his opportunity, and he's been challenged by Joe Dumars to step in, to be the face of this franchise. And part of that role means that when they're going good, is part of what he said, you get all the credit. You're the best player. You're getting the accolades. But also when it's going poorly, you have to be the one that steps up and fronts the media and does all that accountability part of being a leader and a face of a franchise, being that franchise player. And that's what he's been challenged to do. The two words, responsibility and accountability. And Joe Dumars was adamant that Zion has been told this and that he's reacting. That this is what he's working towards. He's in great shape. And it sounds like perhaps it may have got through to him. Well, I mean, time will tell. We've said this year and year and year. When will he become the guy? Well, it seems to be, based on everything we've seen, there's a great rapport between him and Joe Dumars. We saw it at Summer League. Maybe this is the time that now Zion has got the reins. There's no clear 1A, 1B. It's 1A, 1, and then Trey Murphy's 2. Jordan Poole probably 3 based on health at the moment. This is his opportunity now to show that he can lead a team. And, you know, this team is built for Zion. There's shooters around him. There's other ball handlers. There's a guy that can rebound. There's smart players. Maybe this is his opportunity to show that he can lead a team and surprise a few people. Now, they talked about that a bit, that accountability and responsibility, and having that as their moniker for this season, I think it is really good. I think what it resonated with me is that there are a clear set of instructions and expectations with this team, coaching staff, organisation. Joe Dumars has come in and he set the tone and he set his expectation. And if you meet it, fantastic. If you don't, or you can't, then let me know and we can find you somewhere else to go. And no hard feelings, this is business. And the business mentality behind this, I think, is going to serve the team really well. Because before, you know, we had the family type, you know, mindfulness, eat, pray, love wording on the wall. This is a change in direction. This is all business. We're here to win basketball games. And I think that is a change in mentality from what we had previously. Griff did everything he could. He had a number of years to make it work. Unfortunately, there was a number of factors that meant that we didn't get there. Now we changed direction. There's no hard feelings in that. That's a business. That's how we roll. And I think Joe has set a different tone. I would say much more, less collaborative, probably more directive. And that's how it feels. Not to say authoritarian, but there are clear expectations that need to be met and standards to be adhered to. I don't mind that. Let everyone know where they stand. That, I think, breeds success because everyone knows what's expected of them. There are defined roles. And we shall see how it plays out this season. Talked about Willie Green. He says that he has a great relationship with Willie Green. He speaks to him every day. They've sat in his office and watched the guys scrimmage, and they talk about different plays and different things that they could run and different pairings of players and you know, potential lineups, what works, what couldn't work, what could we try. And he harped on communication. And communication is key to success of any organisation, particularly in a high-performance sporting situation. There needs to be clear expectations, like I said, and communicating those. And upwards communication and downwards communication. Everyone needs to be on the same page. And it sounds like, at least at the moment, that's the case. From the GM level to the coaching level. Yeah, okay, we heard a lot about the Saints and the NFL and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's cool. That's, you know, trending at the moment because the Saints are, you know, right alongside, and we heard a little bit about that. But building those connections, building rapport, and working together, I think is a good thing. It sounds like Willie's going to have every opportunity to succeed, and if he doesn't, well, the expectations have been set. Now, before I shift back to the players, because they sort of asked questions a bit out of order, I'm going to move to the coaching staff. So, Joe Dumars said in his press conference that he has met with the entire coaching staff. He'd done it that morning, and the expectation is that they play hard every night. They've assembled a team that's 10 to 12 deep, his words, that will play every night. Everyone's going to have an opportunity to carve out a role, and to control their own success and their own years, and that extended to the rookies. What he didn't do is put a number on the wins. He said the wins will take care of themselves if you play hard every night, and everyone knows the expectation. Championship teams, to win, you have to be obsessed. You have to be obsessed with it. And while this roster probably isn't a championship contender in its current form, I mean, based on the depth of the Western Conference today, it's going to be really hard to beat some really good teams. It's deep. But if you put your best foot forward and play hard every night, you're going to have an opportunity to win every night. And having a deep team, I know there's been a lot of criticism of not relying on one guy and then reading between the lines, okay, well, that still count for injuries. And historically, yeah, that's true. If you put all your eggs in one basket, we've been burned by Zion, right? That's the in between, reading between the lines on this. But what it also means is that you don't have to overwork guys. If you have the ability to platoon swap at times or to play, give limited minutes to some of your starters on some of those long road trips and those back-to-backs. We've got some really heavy back-to-back on the road, and home type setups throughout the season. If you're able to manage those minutes, you're going to be fresher at the end of the year and you're going to be able to run those games out. So I think the roster in its current construction does have a lot of guys that are going to push for minutes. So I can see that mentality there. You also know that when you get to the pointy end of the season, your rotation shortens. So if you've got 8 really good guys, but you've got 10 that can play, good. You also want pressure for spots. So what you don't want to have guys in a team is complacency. You don't want guys to just assume that they've got the job and they'll be starting every night and that their minutes are guaranteed. You want guys that are hungry, hot on their tails to take their job. And it sounds like Joe Dumars has instructed and informed the coaching staff and the players that is the case. There are pressure for spots. You have to earn your place, and what will be will be. And I quite like that mentality. You need to have competition in the locker room. Otherwise, what's the point? Because if you're not competing at training to get minutes, well, you're not going to compete out against other players when you're playing opposition. So I was all about that. And I mean, you can probably see I'm a little bit hyped about it. I was quite impressed with the press conference. I think Joe said the right things. Genuinely, I thought it was quite enlightening. Now, we'll pivot a little bit to the players. They talked about the rookies versus the veterans. And we know that Willie sometimes has his minute allocation is based on trust. And so that means sometimes a lot of the times he didn't trust rookies. Trey didn't play much in his rookie season. Hawk was in and out of the lineup. He was getting barely a run. Dyson would get pulled. Never really get the opportunity to continuously have an option or a role carved out for him that was defined. And we've seen that throughout. Missy as well, he got in there because of injuries. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have played much this season. Or last season, sorry. But on these young guys, Peavy, they talked about pairing a rookie up with a veteran. So they had Peavy in the gym with Sadiq Bey. Poole was with Jeremiah Fears. When Queen is healthy, he'll be paired up with Kevon Looney. What they want these guys to do is instill values that veterans have, successful veterans in this league. What are the values that they bring in? If they're working hard, well, the rookies have to outwork them. These guys have been in the league, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. The rookies have to come in, and this is the expectation to be successful. Looney's won championships. Sadiq Bey's scored 50 points in a game. Jordan Poole's won championships. He's led a team. Yeah, okay, it wasn't a very successful one, but that was, not all his fault. Very talented player. They've seen what it takes to get to the top. So if you can get young guys coming through and learning from those guys what the baseline expectation is, all that does is elevate their floor. So I really like to hear that. And what they talked about as well, and what Joe sort of highlighted, is that this is organic. It wasn't like they said, hey, you guys are paired up. No, these are guys that are catching up. They've been in the gym together for X number of weeks / couple of months now, probably. And organically they have grown. What you can't do is force things. And that's what Joe talked about as well, is that these guys are starting to build that connection. Oh, I want to be here for this shot and I want to be that. That happens organically. You can't go and say, oh, you guys get together and play. The players have to take it on themselves. And so that was really reassuring. On Fears, he highlighted that Fears basically makes the opportunities for himself. He's a rookie. If he wants to play, he has to show that he's ready, that he can take the mantle. That he said there are minutes there for him if he wants them, if he earns them. If he shows that he's not ready, then that's the issue, right? That you'll come along at your own pace. So we'll see what comes out of that. I mean, again, it really comes down to what the team looks like out the gates and whether Jeremiah Fears can carve out a role for himself. He's going to be competing against Jose, Jordan Poole, DeJounte when he comes back, Jordan Hawkins as well. All of those guards that are sitting there and are fighting for minutes, he's going to have to earn them. And I don't mind that at all. Nothing's given in this league and it's taken away just as quickly. But if he's ready, then it sounds like he's going to have the opportunity to succeed and to control his own rookie season, which, we'll see what happens. On Derek Queen, the other big import this year was the best line, I think, of the whole press conference was that just because your hand's broken, your legs aren't. So you have to run. And you're going to end up like Lance Armstrong because you're on the push bike getting those reps into your legs. You had to go and Google who Lance Armstrong was, which, for all of us that do know who he is off the top of our heads, are dating ourselves. So there you go. It was confronting to me as it was to everyone else in the room, I think. But it was a push for conditioning. Get your body in elite shape because when you come back, you can get back into the shooting and the rhythm and things like that. But if you're fit, it's going to be even easier. So it sounds like he's just been working really, really hard on that conditioning piece. And I couldn't be more excited for that. Because what we saw in Summer League is that at times he was a bit gassed, right? The speed of Summer League shocked him in the beginning. Yeah, he was getting double-doubles, but you could see that it was a bit of a struggle at time with a bit of the end-to-end. And if we're going to play that way this season, you're going to have to be fit to keep up. So it looked like he looks to be in pretty good nick based on the photos, but we shall see. We shall see. They talked about Jordan Poole. He's obsessed with basketball. That's what Troy Weaver, he approached Joe and said, hey, let's go and get him. He'd had him for a year at Washington and said, this is a Joe Dumars type of guy. And who knows, could Jordan Poole turn into sort of a diamond in the rough, one of those guys that needs to sort of rebuild his brand after being always affiliated with the Draymond Green King Hit type setup and then getting shipped off to Washington, which was basically, Antarctica for the way they played this year or last year. So going and getting a guy like that lives in the gym, that wants to show out, wants to play basketball, is obsessed with it, and also has won. That's what you want. You want guys with championship experience to build into the locker room. It sounds like he's fitted in perfectly, and maybe he's found another little diamond like he did with Chauncey Billups all those years ago. Am I comparing the two? No, but if it does work, well, you heard it here first. But perhaps maybe he turns into a top-tier player like that and can re-establish himself as one of those top guards in the league. So we'll see. They asked about the 10-game blocks. That was another good thing. Now, we remember in the last couple of years they introduced, we're playing the season in 10-game blocks. So let's go 7-3. We'll go 6-4 there. We'll do that. And Joe sort of dismissed that. He He doesn't operate that way. He says it's one game at a time. The season is so fast and so long that if you're looking ahead to a 10-game block, well, you're almost doing yourself a disservice because then your brain's not in the current. It's not in, oh, I've played badly. I know tomorrow night I need to show out. Instead, you're going, well, I know I'm going to be playing Sacramento in 2 games, so maybe I can give them a flogging. Now, I can see that argument, right? But I also understand when that 10-game block sort of attitude came out was when we started 1 and 14 or 3 and 14 or whatever it was all those years ago. That's where that came in because it was like, well, hang on, we started so poorly that we need to improve block by block, and that's where that's built on. What I don't mind is the shift now, because actually the expectation is that you're successful and that you're competitive every night. So you don't need to look for the games you should win. You should be in every game, and as you win more games and as you set that expectation for yourselves, you're going to win more, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You don't need to look into the future because every night is a winnable night. So I can see what he's trying to establish. I really can. And that to me is, that's exciting for me. And I think it's refreshing to have another voice in there. I'm looking forward to seeing it all come together. And will there be teething issues? Of course, you're adding new players to a team into a really tough Western Conference. If you saw the news today, Fred VanVleet's done his ACL, which, feel terrible for him, but maybe that puts a little knock to the Rockets, perhaps. I don't know, he's their point guard and leader. Maybe that knocks them about a little bit. I don't know, they're a pretty deep team in themselves. But you have to make your own luck in this league. And I think if you've got an executive that has set the tone, this is the expectation, meet it, and you challenge these competitors, crazier things have happened. Crazier things have happened, that's all I'll say. Now, before we wrap up, there was a couple of extra things. Trey Murphy, he wants to be great. They talked about Trey, they're 100% behind him. So if you see any of these, such and such is interested in Trey, well, so they should be, because he's a bloody talented player. That doesn't mean you're going to trade him. But he has met with Joe and he said, this is what I want to be. I want to be great. How do I get there? And having that guy that's a Hall of Fame player and executive, he's built Hall of Fame players. He's built championship roster. He's had success. Ask this guy. What a great asset to have for a young player coming through that wants to take that next step. What's next for Trey Murphy? I don't know, but I hope it's a big jump. And I mean, all the talent's there. It's just seeing what happens. Getting a bit of health as well. A bit of luck with the health. That would be really good. But we shall see him. It's not long now. It's 11 days before the first game when they're down in Australia. So we shall see sooner rather than later. They talked about leadership. Guys like Trey, Herb, DeJounte, Jose, Zion, all stepping into that leadership role. Really, and Jordan Poole, Looney. These new guys bringing that veteran leadership. If you have a look at our team, we've only got one player that's played in double-digit seasons, which is Looney, this going into his 10th. So everyone else has played less than that. But it's these guys that have played 6, 7, 8 years that need to take that next step to help these young guys, because we've got a lot of first, second, third year players. Make sure that they get that buy-in and that expectation as to how to be successful from the jump. And that sounds like that's happening. So they talked about Australia, 20-hour flight, good for team bonding, and that's how you have to approach it, right? It is a long way to go. I've done the flight a number of times now. It is long. I think they're going to be in a bit more comfort than I was, jammed up with my knees around my ears on whatever various budget airline I was on. But it is taking care of your body, making sure that after those long flights that you aren't overdoing it, that you're accustomed to the time zones, and that they do take care of their bodies. Of course, they're elite athletes have got a whole squad coming with them that'll look after them. But I for one, am genuinely excited to see him. I'll be over there, of course, from Tuesday, which will be really, really cool to hopefully connect with the team and see a bit of the, and of course see a fair bit of basketball as well, which is going to be great. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But again, Joe talked about that and acknowledged that, yeah, it's a long trip, but on the road, that's where you build connections. You've got the whole squad coming. Everyone is going to be able to buy in, and sort of a little pre-season trip, which, there's worse places. I tell you what, the weather over here at the moment is beautiful. Can't speak for Melbourne, but Perth has been stunning. Anyway, I digress. So, finally, they said Jose is good to go. He had his fall. He's been running up and down the gym. He's always around. So no dramas there. My key takeaways from this. Joe Dumars is a culture builder. And when I say culture builder, I know culture's thrown around. It's one of those corporate buzzwords. Oh, we got great culture, great, come and work here. What it means is that there is defined expectation. There are values, and there is communication. It looks like an enjoyable place to work. Joe Dumars is, all through the office, he found out what NFL team they support, and he went and bought them all a hat. So now they can say, oh, you're a Jets fan, you're a Saints fan, you're that, whatever. Finding commonality amongst colleagues is key for culture. Make it an enjoyable place to work, because if the front office and the operations staff are happy, that then feeds through, because it becomes a pleasant place to work. It feeds through into the physios, into the coaches, into the players. That's what you want. And it starts at the top. It starts at that tone setter. So I was impressed with that. Additionally, he is no nonsense. And it's not like it's in a rude way. It's not in a dictatorship. No, I just have high standards and I expect you to meet them. And if you can't, that's fine. But this is the expectation I have. Full stop. Underline. No dramas. I think that seems like a fair expectation. And finally, he's challenged Zion to be the face of this franchise. It's make or break for Zion, I think. He's a fantastic player. He has all the talent in the world. We can see what he does when he plays. But there is a difference, as Joe has said, between talent and greatness. And to get great, you need accountability and responsibility. That is what resonates with me, and I want to see it from Zion. I want to see Zion succeed. I really do. I want to see his Pels team succeed, and I think Zion's the key to that. And it sounds like Joe Dumars agrees. So, with that being said, the rest of Media Day starts tonight. It's like, 10 p.m. my time, so I suppose it's 9 a.m. it might be, over in New Orleans. So that's on YouTube. You can actually watch it. I'll be watching. And we'll do another show tomorrow after Media Day and back it all up and digest together what we'll be hearing and seeing and what we think. And then, gosh, it's on. We're away. We're basically a week away from Pelicans basketball-ish, week in a couple of days. How exciting. How exciting indeed. The NBA season is here, and I could not be more excited for that. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. This has been Flock, a New Orleans Pelicans podcast. I am your host, Lyle Swithenbank, at Lyle Swithenbank on X and on TikTok. Make sure you hit that subscribe, like, follow, listen, download, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. We appreciate your support, and we're going to keep talking Pels all season. So anyway, as always, stay safe, and of course, bye for now.